Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Elestrals video. Completely did not expect to actually make a video like this. I was about to hop on World of Warcraft to play the newest update. All of a sudden, I saw this video. I have already watched the entire video, so I'm just going to kind of give you guys my thoughts. But as you can kind of see from the title, Sparkit is now officially banned from competitive play. The very first card ever in Elestrals history to be banned. This is very interesting now. So let's get into the video.
We are sending the Thunder Nexus Elestral Sparkit to Tartarus.
I want to say though, this is very amusing. Having it be where a banned card goes to Tartarus, I freaking love that. I just think it's so silly. The only thing that's kind of confusing to me, what happens if a fire Elestral goes to Tartarus? Does it have immunity? Whatever.
Sparkit has been the topic of tons of debate in the Elestrals community for many months, as it enables the powerful strategy within Thunder Nexus. When used on turn 1, Sparkit creates an unstable game environment that can be very challenging for opposing players, and truthfully, it's simply unfun. We've seen this card and deck dominate the competitive scene, and while my initial plan was to hold off on banning this card, after much consultation and deliberation, I believe banning Sparkit outright is what's best for Elestrals moving forward. Our newest set, Daybreak, introduces two key cards, Glimbat and Dense Fog, which can provide some counterplay to Sparkit, but even with that, the knowledge and hand rip effect that Sparkit generates in conjunction with the other consistency tools within the Thunder Nexus deck have proven to be problematic, ultimately leading to this decision.
So, something I do want to point out. I haven't made the video. I talked about it, though, when I was talking about Ash Rabbit. Ash Rabbits, sorry. When I was talking about Ash Rabbit. Where I didn't necessarily think Sparkit was the problem card. I thought Ash Rabbit was the problem card. And the reason being is that if you're able to activate Ash Rabbit multiple times in a single turn, you get so much card advantage that it's very, very difficult for your opponent to come back. And the fact that they don't even get to see what you added to your hand is insane. And the reason why Thunder Nexus was so good is that you could pair Sparkit and Ash Rabbit together to get probably the two best effects in the game. Grab just any card without your opponent knowing, and rip a card out of your opponent's hand. If you did both of those, you get +2 in card advantage just from doing that. And that's not difficult necessarily for Thunder Nexus to accomplish. Which leads me to believe that I thought, though, Ash Rabbit provided better, advantage, because I feel like being able to buff your own plays is a lot better than dismantling your opponent's hand, because your opponent has 3 copies of a single card in their hand, then you can't really discard that card because they still have it, essentially. Ash Rabbit allows you to look at 3 and grab something you don't have yet and add it to your hand, whether it be more counter runes for disruption or anything like that. I thought Ash Rabbit is a better card than Sparkit. However, what I will say, I do agree Sparkit is less fun to play against. Sparkit is a much more oppressive card than Ash Rabbit. And the main reason why I think it is that cards that basically, for example, just talking about this from a Yu-Gi-Oh standpoint, since that's my background, we have a bunch of cards in the game and Yu-Gi-Oh that are banned. There's the Holy Trinity of Confiscation, Forceful Sentry, and Delinquent Duo. All of those cards rip a card out of your opponent's hand, and they also give you. Actually, Delinquent Duo does not give you hand knowledge, but the other two do give you hand knowledge, because you get to look at your opponent's hand and either shuffle one back into the deck or discard a card, depending on whether it's the Forceful Sentry or a Confiscation, whatever. Those cards got banned almost immediately, just for the sole reason that getting hand knowledge of your opponent is already very, very strong. Knowing what's in your opponent's hand is a very, very powerful ability. But on top of that, you get to discard a card from it. You get to rip a card out of their hand alongside getting the card knowledge, which is why those 3 cards got banned so fast. Delinquent Duo obviously not being able to look at your opponent's hand, but it does get rid of 2 cards, which is very, very powerful. Whereas, for example, with Confiscation to Forceful Sentry, not only do you get to rip a card out, you get the hand knowledge. Sparkit is the exact same way. It's the exact same way. You get the hand knowledge, and you get to rip a card. On top of that, Sparkit is arguably better than those cards. Obviously, different games, but arguably better because it allows you to Nexus. So if you Nexus and then Nexus onto an Astrabbit, not only do you look at your opponent's hand and rip a card from it to get hand knowledge and an additional +1 advantage, if you Nexus onto an Astrabbit, or say anything that has a receive effect. I think Astrabbit is Astrabbit the only Thunder Elestral that has a receive effect? I think it might be. But you just get additional Spirit on your guy. If it's an Astrabbit, you get an additional card advantage. So that this whole back and forth is really what made Sparkit so powerful. I think, if we are being entirely honest, I don't think banning Astrabbit is necessarily the way to go. I do think banning Sparkit is fine. I think Sparkit is a much more oppressive card, and overall, arguably, could be better than Astrabbit. I wouldn't say that. I think Astrabbit is the better card, but Sparkit is more unfun to play against, especially since only one deck in the format can actually utilize it. Every deck in the format can utilize Astrabbit, even if you're not in Thunder. Thunder just gets the best use of it since you're always playing Thunder. So we'll talk about a little bit further what I think this ban is going to do to Thunder Nexus, but first, let's finish up this video.
As much as I wish I was a perfect game designer who knew all of the answers and could foresee all of the potential problem cards, I simply am not. Sparkit in its prototype phase was weaker and did a random discard, which was changed at the last minute in testing to provide a power level buff to Thunder. Truthfully, this has been one of the biggest mistakes I've made in designing Elestrals, and simply I want to try to fix that to make the game more enjoyable for the future. Effective August 5th, Sparkit will no longer be legal for any officially sanctioned Elestral events, and will continue to monitor the health of the game. Daybreak will introduce a new Thunder Nexus Celestial called Larvacell, and I can also confirm Set 4 will also introduce a Thunder Nexus Celestial to provide more consistency options for those decks.
So that's really, really nice. Obviously, we are getting the Larvacell, so we do still have a way to Nexus Thunder. It's not 2 Thunder, it is only 1, but typically you only really are Nexusing 1 anyway. I do honestly think in Daybreak, Thunder Nexus decks are going to play the Phosphocell kind of package, because maybe not Phosphocell, maybe you just play Anacell and just call it a day. I think probably though they will likely play Phosphocell, just because Phosphocell is a good card. It can very much help Thunder Nexus, especially with a Sparkit ban, and it just gives you access to another Nexus Celestial that just at the very least allows you to, whether or not you want to go for a Larvacell into an Anacell, you could also just Nexus straight onto an Astrabbit and go get your plays going from there. So I don't think Thunder Nexus is going to be completely dead when Daybreak releases, but we'll talk about what I think Thunder Nexus is going to do before Daybreak releases, and we'll get there when we get there.
My team and I put our heads together, and I believe we found a very awesome and fun solution for cards like Sparkit, who are banished to Tartarus in the future. Which, by the way, I hope to not have to do this too often. This is an extreme case, but again, even with hundreds and thousands of games of testing, it's hard to be perfect, and sometimes cards just get away from you. Like I said, I think our solution is awesome and really innovative compared to what other games are doing. I think this is actually a really cool solution. Sparkit is going to re-release with a new common card next year in Set 5 called Sparkit Escape from Tartarus.
Yeah, so we'll just get right on into it. So, new title for Sparkit. So Sparkit will make a return, and obviously we're getting a Set 5 card before anything. I also find it very funny how they've hit it. Maybe they don't have it made. That might be why. I don't know. They might not even have a name, really, for Set 5. We'll see. But, yeah, Set 5, Sparkit will be re-releasing with a slight nerf. So Sparkit will drop to 3 attack from 4. And its hand rip effect is random. It is no longer going to be, you get the hand knowledge. This is a lot better. I don't think, though, this is still the most fun thing to play against, but obviously, it's not nearly as oppressive. Getting a random card discarded from your hand means that there's no guarantee that the card that gets discarded is going to be the best card in your hand. In fact, let's say you're going first and you do the whole Sparkit thing and rip a card out of their hand. Before, you got to look at their hand and then discard. For example, let's say you had like Viscerus plus like Full Life Force, Ambrosia. Just looking at that, you're discarding the Viscerus, right? Obviously. Now there's not a guarantee that the Viserys is going to get discarded. In fact, it's very likely that the Viserys will not get discarded. It's very likely that you're just gonna sit at you're gonna have a 20% chance to discard the card that you actually want to discard, assuming you're doing this for the 5-card hand. This will be a lot better of a card, I think, later in the game, later into a clash where like cards are mostly just on the table. They're not on the field, I guess you could say. They're not like these cards are not they're not really in the hand. If you have like 1 or 2 cards in hand, Sparkit, just getting a discard of any of those cards is actually very powerful late game. Early game, this card's not going to be very good. So I think this is a fair nerf. This is probably what it should have been initially. I think it's really cool. I also do really like how the fact that essentially if they go ahead and ban a card, then they're going to basically just give it a errata, essentially, with just a new artwork, new title, and have it be that. And I think that's really, really nice. I think it's really... Now, here's the question, though. What happens if you have to ban a card that escapes from Tartarus? Like, what if Sparkit Escape from Tartarus is still too powerful and they have to ban it again? What do we do then? Does it just stay banned forever? It might. Who knows? If an escaped card gets banned again, it just stays in Tartarus forever. That's what I think should happen. But we'll watch the remainder of the video because there's only 20 seconds remaining. I'll give you guys my thoughts on Thunder Nexus.
This new titled Sparkit card will feature a nerfed effect and stats to bring it to a more sustainable and appropriate power level. The effect on screen is subject to change as we begin testing this new card immediately in the midst of our Set 5 testing. Thank you guys for your support, and I look forward to your feedback regarding Sparkit, the Tartarus list, and how we plan to approach bans moving forward. Until next time.
All right, so that's basically all we got. In terms of, though, like, what I think about Thunder Nexus. First of all, these 2 cards are very, very interesting. Dense Fog, not so much. Dense Fog, I still think we'll see a little bit of play. I actually don't think this card's as good as I was saying in my video after testing it a little bit. Haven't done too much testing. I'm still kind of working on Frostfall stuff. Hopefully soon, you guys will see a bunch of deck profiles for all the decks that I own, including the first one that I recorded. If I could speak, I've already recorded Fire. I'm going to look to do Water. I'm probably going to do... I do own Thunder Nexus, but obviously now I have to update it with Sparkit being banned. So, I'm going to have to update that. I'll get back to you guys. I think I know what I'm going to do, but I have to, like, actually... I have to actually, like, do it. But I'll let you guys know what I think. So, Thunder Nexus now. I, strangely enough, don't think the deck's dead. I don't think the deck is nearly as good as it was, but the deck's certainly not dead. You still have access to Astrabit in a lot of ways to Nexus. There are obviously, you have Altar of Stars, a very good way to Nexus, and for the most part, I think a lot of the decks that were playing Sparkit, which was every deck, you're playing 3 copies of Sparkit. I think for the most part, you're just going to fill those 3 Sparkits with probably just 3 copies of Circle the Sky. Because Circle the Sky is still another Nexus card. It allows you to draw a card. It still gives you that +2 advantage. It's just you don't rip a card out of your opponent's hand, and you don't get the hand knowledge. So it's still +2. It's just you don't get hand knowledge. That's the only thing that Sparkit had over Circle the Sky. And I guess the other thing it had was it's an Elestral, so it's something that your opponent has to actually attack over. So it's not like the easiest thing in the world to do that. However, I believe personally that Thunder Nexus is still going to be good. Will it be the most dominant deck in the format? Probably not. We've so far seen 3 tournaments. We've seen 2 webcam tournaments and a digital app tournament. Every single one of the winners of those tournaments were playing Thunder Nexus. And I think Thunder Nexus was the most... I think it was the most... what's the word? Most played... Most represented. That's the word I was looking for. Most represented deck in each tournament. Because people were like, yeah, this is obviously the best deck in the format. Let's just go ahead and try to, like, spam it, basically. So it's because it's the best deck. I could still see it with this ban being the best deck. I don't think it will be. I think probably we're going to see either Earth Beatdown, more Frost, maybe Fire. take the reins as the best deck in the format, and it's obviously going to open up the floodgates to a bunch of lower tier decks or rogue decks to potentially make a top cut push. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see. The only other thing realistically I have to talk about is how good do I think Thunder Nexus is going to be in Daybreak? The answer is not very good. I don't really think Thunder Nexus is getting that many new tools. And I think there are a lot of decks getting a lot of new tools. And so far from what I've seen, Solar is like really, really good. I haven't done a whole lot of testing with Solar, but it actually does seem like Celestial might be like one of the best decks in the format. We'll see exactly how that works. But I think probably Thunder Nexus is just going to take a big hit, essentially, once Daybreak releases. I think nowadays it's actually not going to be that bad, but I do believe it's not going to be able to like withstand the pressure that other decks are going to like put up, because there are going to be a lot of decks that are just going to be able to turbo a bunch of cards. Solar is kind of one of them. It doesn't, I guess, turbo it out, but you can get Celestial out pretty easily, I would say, in Solar. And there's a lot to really consider, I would say. I don't think Thunder Nexus is going to be a very good deck once Daybreak releases. I think it's going to be pushed down from like essentially tier 0 to like tier 2, maybe rogue status once Daybreak releases. As of now, I still think it's a tier 1 deck. I think it's a lower powered though tier 1 deck in the current format. And I'll let you guys know my updated list once I actually go ahead and record that video. But that's it. Sparkit, no longer available for play in 1 week. So that's it for Sparkit. We are done. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. We hope you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to stop that like button and subscribe for more. Hope to see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.